Hello and welcome to episode 302 of Photokitchen. I'm your humble host, MD Welch, and as you can see, we're not in the Photokitchen. We're actually at a photo shoot, so we're doing a little Photokitchen takeout here. I'm at the University of Nevada, Reno, working for the School of Business. This is their Prepare for the Fair. It's a great event. Students get to have interviews done or mock interviews done, resumes reviewed, and also a headshot done by yours truly. Now, this is a big event for me. I do this several times a year for the school, but it is a long day, 5 hours in total of shooting time, not including setup and not including teardown. So that's 5 continuous hours of shooting. And in this particular 5-hour window, I photographed 302 individuals. So that's 302 headshots taken, 302 headshots delivered. And that can seem like a massive amount if you're not really prepared or set up for that type of shooting. So I'm going to walk you through on how I do it, the system that I've kind of used from shooting to post-production to delivery of these images. So let's sit back, relax, and start back at the beginning. Now, first thing is I'm working by myself. Sometimes I do have another photographer with me. So this gray backdrop that I am setting up usually serves as a backdrop for both myself and the photographer on the opposite side. But as I mentioned before, I'm shooting today by myself. So gray backdrop, that is a request from the client, 9-foot standard seamless paper, backdrop stands, pretty easy to set up. Always bring yourself a step ladder. It makes it easier to set things up. We're not shooting full length, so I don't have to sweep the paper out. So I just kind of roll it up a little bit. So there's a few rolls at the bottom, so there's some weight so it holds it. And then I just let the paper kind of hang at the bottom there. So with the backdrop set up, it's now time to focus on the main light. And I'm using a 5-foot Chimera or Chimera Octobox here. Now this is a big heavy light source, so take note that there's a bracket that goes on this rolling light stand, and I like the rolling light stand for large light sources. And this means that the weight of the modifier is being taken by the stand and not the actual light on the stand. And I really like this feature for large modifiers. Now I'm also going to add to this the 2-foot extension to give me a total of 7 feet of Octobox greatness. This is what I like to call Octa Awesome. And this is 3 layers of diffusion as well. So for those 3 layers of diffusion, I need some extra power, and I'm going to put in a ProPhoto 7A pack attached to a ProPhoto head. And that 2400 watt seconds is really necessary to go through all 3 layers of diffusion and still give me enough power to shoot at, say, like f8 or f16 at ISO 100. Now, I really like this light source. This is a fantastic light source for this particular job because I cannot change the lights due to the speed that each shot has to happen in. So because of the 7-foot, I have the exact same spread and light coverage and light quality, regardless if a person's sitting, whether they're standing, whether if they're 6-foot, 5-foot, 7-foot. I do get into the occasional student athlete at these events. I don't have to raise or lower that light. I don't have to change the position of that light. And this is my go-to light source. And by the way, if you want more information on this and see this in action, I've done a whole video on all of the different types of Octoboxes that I own and how each size will play a role in that quality and spread. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some separation from the background to the subject, and I'm going to do this with some separation lights. These are 2 lights angled back. Both are going to be Pro Heads 7A pack. Again, another pack here. Now, I have the pack separated because I want to not only have the control, but I also want to be able to have just power for my main and power for my separation lights to be separated. So 2 packs, and I have 2 heads in this particular pack, and they're Pro Heads. They're older ProPhoto heads, but they're in new ProPhoto strip boxes. Now, I used to use the larger Chimera strip banks that I have that are like 6 or 7 feet tall, and they're great. The problem with them is that they are so heavy that they cause the lights to tilt, and I have to put them on big heavy C stands and have to weigh them down. And since I am operating by myself, I have to think about all of the weight and all of the gear that I'm bringing in. I wanted to do it in one trip. So these smaller soft boxes with just heads and not mono lights makes it easier just to put them on regular light stands. So this was a setup issue, but they worked out fine. And later on, I will add grids to these lights so they don't flare back up in the lens. I don't do it right now, but I will do it a little bit later. Now with that setup done, I'm going to go ahead and grab my light meter. I'm not a huge light meter fan, but I will say in this instance, these types of setups make using a light meter almost mandatory because I could just dial in the power. I know exactly what my power is going to be. I know what my ratios are. I don't have to light by feel. And I could also be consistent from one headshot setup to the next. So when I do this later on in the year or in the following year, I have that kind of same same power and that same look. So I'm looking for F8 out of my main. Once I get that dialed in, I'm just going to turn around and I'm going to get F11 out of both of my strip banks. And I'm just kind of standing there as I'm the subject and looking and making sure the light's hitting where I need it to be. After that, I'm going to set up a passive fill. This is a Chimera panel as well. And this is just going to allow me to have a fill without having a light source. So active would be a light source. This is passive. This is a bounce. And I also do this because it creates a little bit more shadow on that side of the face, which is not only good for giving people different looks because I will shoot them into the light and into the bounce. I give them two options, but it also really helps out with eyeglasses and it doesn't create any glare in the eyeglasses usually when I have them go into the bounce. And again, it just gives the students a couple of options there when working. Now with all of that done, I do need somebody to stand in front of my camera. So I'm gonna have Rowan, who is not only a student at the School of Business, but also a student worker, stand in, help me out, dial in the light here. And once I get the lighting kind of dialed in and everything set up, I then mark on the floor where I want students to stand. So I do two pieces of tape. One tape where the students put their toes and they're into the light, and one piece of tape where they're pointing into the bounce. So that gives me two directions here. It gives me two different looks. With our setup lockdown, we're going to open up the doors and start the clock for 5 hours. Now, the shoot process is fairly straightforward. Students will hold a whiteboard with the number on it. I'll show you why I have them do that in a second. I take one shot of them holding the whiteboard, I grab it back, and then I will shoot two images of them looking into the light and two images of them looking into the bounce. And that's what the tape on the ground is for. Then I have them look at the back of the camera and I have them pick their image. Now, ideally, I would like to do this tethered, but because I don't have the budget to have somebody running a laptop full time, I can't do that. So they pick the images off the back of the camera. And you might be wondering, well, how do you know which image that they picked based upon the time and all of that other kind of stuff? It's a very simple solution. Most cameras either have a button or you could program a button when you do image review to rate images. In my case of my Sony, for image review, I have it for the custom 3 or C3 button. So when I hit the C3 button, when I'm looking at an image, it rates it at 5 stars. So I have the students look at the images and they pick the one that they like. I hit C3, 5 stars, and we're done. So now I also have my picks of the images. There's no sending anything out. There's no waiting for anybody to get back. And if you're not shooting tethered, but you need to have people pick images, or you want people when they say, oh, that's a fantastic shot, this is a great little trick. I've talked about it in previous videos many years ago. I might do another one on this because this is a huge time saver. And again, it's something that's built into the camera. So we do this process over and over again, 302 times to be exact. And once we're done, we tear all the gear down, which I don't have a video on. And then we import the images, in this case, into Capture One. And a big reason why this job becomes so easy on export is because of Capture One. Capture One and Lightroom Classic have a lot of similarities. They do a lot of the same things, but this is something that Lightroom Classic doesn't do well, as you're about to see. So here are all of the images that are shot. And as mentioned before, all of the 5-star images automatically come in as 5 stars because of the rating from camera. Now, I've already converted these because I've already done the editing, but these are all the 5-star images by themselves. Now, obviously, I go through and I do global editing and I get everything taken care of. I get crops the way that I want to. So that has already been done as well. But when I first bring them in, and let me go back to seeing all of the images here, what I have to do is I have to match up the information that we recorded from each student into Capture One. So each student held this little name plaque or this little number board, and that number board is going to correspond to a database or an Excel spreadsheet that we created for them to fill out. Now, it also includes their email, which I've removed from the C column here, but it includes the number of the student, the name of the person, and then the email. I take that information and I bring it into Microsoft Word because it's just easier to bring it into Word and then copy and paste it from there. I remove the columns, I do an underscore, so it's all one name. And then the real tedious part of this entire job happens. I have to come in and highlight or copy each name and number and come up, do a copy, and then come over to the actual image itself and then select a student. Of course, this is not the same number here, but go ahead and select all of the images of the student, come into the metadata field, and then paste in the description field the name of the student. Now, the headline is the name of the job, the description is the name of the student, and then there's a category called color. And I'm going to leverage all of these in a second, as you're about to see. So all three of these fields get filled out. I also rename the images later on, and I just use the headline field or the job. So in this case, UNR underscore COB is College of Business, and then underscore prepare for the fair. Now, when I rename these files, I have a custom or batch rename preset here that takes the headline, which is that UNR COB. It adds in automatically the image taken date. So it gives me a 3-letter month, then underscore day, underscore year. There we go. And then underscore the actual number in the sequence. So everything has the same file name. I could do it after the students, but I prefer to do it after the job. So that all gets done. And of course, that takes a bit of time. Queue up the podcasts, watch something on the iPad while I'm doing this, because doing this 302-ish times does take a while, but it allows me to save a lot of time later on. So file renames have been done, selections have been done, everything is taken care of. Take note that there's a category of color, because what's going to happen next is I come into my library panel here and I just sort by 5-star images, and then I make a clone variant of all of the 5-star images at once. I just have one selected here, but I would normally do all of them. And then what that's going to do is it's going to give me a copy or a virtual copy, to use the Lightroom Classic parlance or nomenclature. And I basically now go from 302 to 604, as you can see here in the counter. I then take all of those virtual copies or all of those clone variants, and I do 3 things. The first thing that I do is I convert them all to black and white. I create a custom black and white preset, and it gets applied to all of the images at once, no problem, right? The other things that I do is I change the color tag or the color label to blue. So blue for black and white, that's my thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be blue, but that's what I do it with. And then I change the category to black and white. And you'll see why that's so critical in just one moment. So every image has the same headline. Each image has its own description for the student, and the color versions have color and the black and white versions have black and white. So far, so good. Awesome. Then I'm able to select all of these images, all 604 in this particular case. I do not have to select the color images separate from the black and white images. I come up to export, and what I do is I create a export recipe, which is a preset for both a print version and web version. Now, what it does is it takes the information, and these are called tokens, but these are just metadata fields inside of Capture One. So it takes the headline, so that's the job, and drops it into a folder for Dropbox. So it automatically creates a whole new folder for Dropbox. So I don't even have to do that on Dropbox. It then adds an image, date, and time, because I do this job a lot. So it automatically adds that. So each job is individually numbered based upon the date. Then it creates a folder for the description. So in this case, it creates it for print size and also web size. It then goes one step further and it creates for categories. So there's a print size for color, a print size for black and white, so forth and so on. And then it will drop in the name for print size. So it has all of this information that automatically applies. I don't have to rename anything, or I don't have to create new folders or anything like that, or separate students. For the naming of each file, they all get the same image name and then the category, which the category is going to be the actual, if it's color or black and white, and then it is going to give you underscore print for the print export and underscore web for the web export. So it's really 2 exports run at once. Now we'll go ahead and cancel this. And if we come over to the actual Dropbox folder, I have one student's name already open, but we'll just back out so you could see this. I get all of these folders exported. So they all get the student's name. This is inside of a folder on Dropbox. And if you expand any of those folders, you'll see a folder for the category, which is, is it black and white or is it color? And then inside of there, there's a digital size and there's also a print size, which is a little redundant to do those subfolders there, but that's just part of my export for bigger jobs. So there's a digital version and a print version for black and white, and the same is true for color. I also do an export for all of the slates, all of the number plates that the students are holding. And the reason why I do this is that way I can attach them, and I have an export feature for that as well that I call slates. and that will go ahead and just add it into that description folder. So that way there's always a folder or a file or an image there with the number and the student's face to it. So for some reason, if it doesn't match up and somebody's like, oh, number 21 is not 21, I could come into here and I could quickly look at it and go, nope, that's 21. We got that right. Maybe the name's wrong. Maybe we got the wrong database or something like that. But at the end of the day, I can verify that easily. And also the student can verify it if necessary. And also so can the School of Business. So once that's all done, all of my images have been exported. The students get 4 versions of the images. They also get their number plate. And outside of the actual copy and pasting of the numbers, this is a relatively fast process. I turn this whole thing around in less than 24 hours. So basically the job is done in less than a day, sometimes 2 days, just depending on how long it takes to get that Excel spreadsheet from the school. But that's it. That's the whole process on doing this massive undertaking of 300 plus headshots in 5 hours. And that's how we make the sausage, right? That's how it goes. But it is very formulaic. It is something that's been polished over years. I refine it a little bit every year. I try to find the best way to save time. So hopefully this gives you some inspiration. Hopefully you've also liked the video. If so, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you have, thank you for your support. And of course, share this with anybody who's doing big, large jobs and is kind of having problems with the lighting or the post-production. Capture One is really good at the post-production for these large types of jobs when you're leveraging metadata. This is something that Lightroom Classic doesn't do. So please share this with people if they're also on the fence about those 2 programs. And of course, until next time, I'm MD Welch wishing you all the best from outside of the Photokitchen.